Alrighty, so I was going to make a should you summon video, and so let's go over the characters and the banner and sort of talk about a few things that are kind of important if you really want to summon on this thing, because I honestly think that if you're not using the unknown team, you're not using the bond team, you might be able to get away with skipping this collab. Obviously that's not ideal because the characters are so exclusive. Reinhard is ridiculously good, and I mean Echidna is definitely good as well. I don't think she's quite as good as Reinhard is, but yeah, Reinhard seems to be like the character to get this time around, whereas last time it was pretty much Amelia because of her like crazy ult. He also has a crazy ult. So if we go over the characters, Echidna is kind of like a supporty style character for the unknown team, but also can do really good damage, so she's just overall very good to have on the team. So for every unknown race hero on the battlefield, increases the unknown race allies basic stats by 5%. For every enemy damaged with ally skills, increases the hero's attack related stats by 4% for 3 turns, up to 9 times. So that's a lot of buffs she gets on. It also is kind of nice that she stacks so many buffs so quickly, mainly because of the fact that, you know, Estarossa is going to take 1 buff off every time you attack. So it's kind of nice that the buffs aren't like super big, but you just get a lot of them to kind of counter the fact that you're going to lose them if you go against like a demon team at the moment. I think that was kind of smart on their play. It's not like an amplify skill though, so all the buffs like definitely add up and do extra damage, but you're not going to be doing like insane crazy damage. She has a sever card, which is 3 times crit chance, which is pretty good. I've seen it do very good damage. I'm assuming with the damage that it already does, with the stats that she has and the increased attack related stats that she gets from her passive, I think if this would have been anything other than Sever, it probably would have been way too good, because Sever's not normally a card that I really like using on most characters. It's normally kind of lackluster. But with the stats that she has, it ends up being very, very nice. So that's cool. She also has an AoE infect card, which is great. It does, you know, extra damage. I can't remember exactly what her holy relic does. I want to say it does something to where it boosts damage for debuffed or like attacking debuffed enemies, because I'm pretty sure most of the time you want to attack with her AoE or the infect skill first. But her ultimate is increases all allies' basic stats by 20%, unknown race allies damage dealt by 35% for 2 turns, inflicts damage equal to 600% of attack on all enemies. So huge buff to your team, big damage coming out, very, very nice. Honestly, it's really, really good. So she as a character is good. I definitely think that if you're running the unknown team, or you plan to run the unknown team, or just want to have her in the box in case you want to run the unknown team, then she is very, very good for that. Definitely would recommend you pick up a copy of her. But like I said, if you're not running an unknown team, because it's kind of toxic, some people just, you know, skip it altogether. Some people just aren't interested in running it, whatever the case may be. If you don't run the team, then she's really not going to be that good, because you need to run all unknowns. Are not necessarily all unknowns, but the more unknowns you run with her, the better. So yeah, I don't know if you don't run that team, you probably won't end up using her that much, but she's pretty good. I mean, I can't really say anything negative about her. Reinhard, on the other hand, is pretty ridiculous. Obviously, very big proponent of putting him on the bond team. He is a red human, of course. At the start of the ally's turn, for 1 turn, randomly grant one of the following effects. So he basically has 5 passive buffs that he'll sort of cycle through at random. He can either increase the damage that he deals by 500% or 550%, increases all stats by 25%. That's all stats, not just basic stats. Evasion for 1 turn, debuff immunity, or undying, which is where he cannot drop below 1 HP, so he just can't be killed that turn. So he's got some really strong buffs. And even if like they aren't insane on their own, like debuff immunity would definitely be one that you don't really want to draw. You know, the damage dealt one is pretty good, but it's not like the strongest up there. You know, evasion is pretty good. You know, increased stats by 25%, I would say is probably the best one, just because of like how much extra damage and lifesteal and such that you get. The undying buff is obviously pretty good, but if you look at his ultimate, unfortunately it's one of these ultimates that scale really heavily on dupes. So the basic concept here is not only is it going to be doing more damage, but it's going to give you an extra buff that you didn't roll at the beginning of the turn when you use it. So at max level, you'll get all 5 of his passive buffs at one time once you use the ultimate, and then you'll have those during their turn, so they can't kill you. They basically can't hit you because of evasion. They can't put debuffs on you. You know, he's got way increased stats and stuff like that, which it only lasts for one turn, so it's not like super crazy. Like obviously once the turn ticks over, you know, you're just going to roll back to one of his passive buffs or whatever. But having all 5 of them active for one turn basically makes him invincible, and he's going to do a lot of damage. And if you have the 6/6 ult, like there's a really good chance that, you know, if you're running the Bond team with a lot of HP support, you're basically going to wipe the entire team because he deals a lot of damage. So he does have a flood card, he does have a sever card as well. Both of them are single targets. I don't know, man. He's just really crazy. I don't know how to feel about him, because on one hand, you know, you want to get him because he's very interesting, very good, but at the same time, he's a character that you're going to have to chase a lot of dupes for. If you don't run the Bond team, you know, he's not... He can be used, of course, on other teams, but he's an HP-based character. All of his, you know, damage and, you know, his attack skills base off of his maximum HP, not his attack stat. So you're going to have to build gear like Bond, which is like HP crit damage gear, and you just want to have characters on the field like Twiggo and Excalibur Arthur and such, so that way you actually buff, you know, this character's HP, so that way he deals more damage. And obviously that kind of pigeonholes you into the Bond team. I mean, obviously you can run other teams and not have the HP support. He's still good, but he's definitely not nearly as good. So if you're not running the Bond team, I would say you can probably skip the character, but, you know, he's one of these characters that are super interesting. I don't know exactly how long he'll stay in the meta. I could probably see eventually people skipping or like getting rid of Bond off of the Bond team and just putting Reinhard and Terry and Excalibur Arthur with Twiggo in the back, or something like that. Obviously, like, Bond is good, his ultimate is good, his detonate card is good, but I would say Bond is starting to become like the worst part about the team, because like the other characters are buffers, they're support characters, they're doing what they're supposed to do, but with characters like this coming out who are doing like insane damage and even sometimes like really good damage on turn 1, Bond has a detonate card, and unless they're running, you know, like ultimate move gauge or ultimate gauge food with, you know, going second on top of, you know, all this other stuff, his detonate card is only going to do so much turn 1, and I have seen it do really good damage on turn 1 with low ultimate move gauge, but it just, you know, if you're going up against an actual like formidable opponent, I highly doubt that you're doing too much turn 1. So I don't know. I could see some really interesting comps for the human team coming out sometime in the near future. Every time they release a new red human, basically, the team sort of can be revamped or sort of moved around and messed with. So, yeah. Unknown teams, Bond teams, those are the ones getting buffed. If we go over and look at the banner is very interesting for the fact that it's all of the collab units and then all of the coin shop sin units for whatever reason. These are all old characters that are not terribly useful. The only two that I would say are actually good are, you know, Gother and maybe Merlin for the backline. Escanor can be helpful, but the rest of the characters are pretty bad. So luckily it is a 600 mileage. You do get a choice of choosing between any of the characters that from the collaboration at 600. So if you're lucky enough to pull a copy of Echidna and Reinhardt and you don't have any of the other ones, or you want extra copies of Amelia for her ult or whatever it may be, you can choose somebody at 600. But I would highly recommend, you know, at this point, these older characters, even with their holy relics, they're kind of lackluster, like compared to what these new characters are. So I would definitely say if you're going through, you get a copy of Echidna or a copy of Reinhard and you get to the 600 mileage, definitely grab the other new character. But I don't know, it's a tough call. These are brand new units. Obviously they look really great. Kind of a tough say on whether you should skip them or not. If you don't use the team and you would rather just, you know, maybe you just invested into the demon team and you want to keep using the demon team, I can completely understand if you want to skip this banner, wait for the next demon units to come out. Chandler, there's supposed to be a new like demon Chandler coming out at some point, which is hopefully going to help the team out quite a bit. I would say, you know, play it smart, play it for what your account has, play it for, you know, what teams you use in PvP. If you're not using the unknown team or the bond team, and you'd have to dump a whole lot of resources into it to sort of get it back on par to level 100 and all of that good stuff, then it's probably not worth the investment if you don't have all of those materials. But you know, obviously you gain materials and stuff like that as you play, so if you want to grab them for future use on the teams or whatever the case may be, that's also an option. But I would say that it's a pretty good set of units. Like, these two new units are good. The collab units all together aren't bad. They all have their uses, maybe except for Beatrice. I see a lot of YouTuber like clickbaity videos trying to make Beatrice seem good, and I just don't see it. I've tried to watch a couple of the videos and it always ends up being pretty bad, so definitely don't fall into that. But yeah, all of them kind of have their uses. Amelia probably got the worst holy relic out of the or like all of them, maybe not. I want to say Rom probably got the worst one, but either way, all of the characters are pretty decent. So if you want to grab the new characters, completely understand. If not, definitely save up, try to work on your teams, try to buy cosmetics. Cosmetics are very important for your PvP teams. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you have anything to say or comments or anything like that, leave them down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.